We are recording.
Thank you. Okay. The questions?
Okay. Romans 8.
8. And what, dear?
It says, likewise the Spirit also which helpeth our infirmities, but we know what we should pray for as we ought. But the Spirit itself maketh intercession.
Neil.
Huh?
Which verse? Romans
8 and 26.
Okay. Now go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, it says, likewise the Spirit also helpeth our infirmities, but we know not what we should pray for as we ought. But the Spirit itself maketh intercession for us as with groanings which cannot be uttered. So explain a little more about the groanings which cannot be uttered.
I guess groanings are the sounds of pain. Like, for example, when you do like a sigh like that, right? You're making sounds that are not audible words, but your soul knows what's being said, not with your mind, but from the depths of your heart. That's the only thing I get from that.
Okay, so you said in the Pentecostal churches where they go, like the groanings is like somebody giving birth, and the pain is so unbearable. It's like you're trying to release release something. So is that the groanings that they're talking about, or are they doing it the wrong way?
Well, I don't know whether they're doing it the wrong way or not. However, I do know it. I am familiar with it because I've taught in those churches before, right? Especially Church of God in Christ.
Right.
Yeah. It's no different than you say, Lord have mercy, I just don't know what I'm going to do. Or you say stuff like, oh, God. But you don't even have words for it. However, you know that you are crying out for help, or you're expressing dismay about something, but you're not putting it into words, but the Spirit understands it, and I'd be most appreciative of any assistance I can get in explaining what I'm trying to say.
Hey, Reb, you talked that to us one time about you might not know what you're saying, but you're moaning and groaning, and it's a big part of your soul. And you remember you can't go to God with yourself, but God hears you in spirit. So that spirit of you is telling God what you're saying without you mentioning any words.
Thank you, Charles. I'm glad somebody remembers.
Yeah, I was about to say is essentially you in communication with what is here referred to as the spirit. That goes beyond words. And so in some senses, with what Charles and Pastor Richard was just talking about just now in terms of the spirit knowing what you desire, kind of know in the situations when you can't put things in word, you can't really, you can feel it, but you can't quite even articulate it to yourself. This is talking about the spirit understanding that and knowing you so well and being intertwined and being intertwined and being so close to you that it is answering this thing according to your desires and aspirations, reading your heart beyond and before you can even put it in words.
So like Grandmama and them used to say,
Yeah,
they'd be groaning that way.
Yes.
Like,
yes. Go ahead. Y'all go ahead.
No, I just say yeah, like that. It wasn't about moving anybody as much as it was trying to express something that they could not verbalize.
Right. Okay. Gotcha. Thank you.
welcome. Anyone else?
You know, in a sense, it is almost like a pregnant condition. Like there's something in you, you're a yearning or something. And or perhaps it's something in your life or in someone else's life or in your circumstance that you want to see changed, but you don't know you don't know how best to put that in words, containers that can really express and hold what you're feeling and what you need. And so it's almost like a pregnant condition. You need to birth something. Something needs to be expressed, but you don't quite know how. And so it can also not only be groaning, but a deep sighs. Lord, like you said, Pastor, Lord have mercy. Lord, I don't know, Lord, those kinds of things. So there are things that you can't really put words to. But the essence of who we are is the energy and the vibrations, and even those aches, those moans and the groans vibrate and sometimes speak more about what you are feeling or experiencing than words that you can articulate.
That's exactly what I was about to say. That last part. With that taking place, you can feel stronger and have a stronger desire with in that, and be more moving with that groan that we're talking about than sometimes even speaking in terms of the power and desire that you hold behind what is being referenced here as groans.
And I as you guys were talking, I remember I grew up with a lot of that, and I'm sure you did as well. Hearing that in churches and stuff, especially when people were going through changes or had bad experiences and did not know how they were going to deal with certain situations. So it's more, I think, it's more of a deeper conversation than it would be if you were giving thought to it. And again, I was thinking about when I was teaching in those settings, they would do it as a means of moving people, as opposed to it was a planned effort, as opposed to being something that happened because you truly could not think of the words that you wanted to express or something like that.
May I ask a question on the heels of that as well?
Of course.
When we talk looking at making intercession, you know how people have termed it, and I'm just going to use a term that they said that we are very familiar with. Are we speaking of these things occurring as a result of the spirit being grieved? Because you've heard people say, oh God, that grieves my spirit. So is that also an example of the moaning and the groaning that produces the intercession from a place of the spirit being grieved, our spirits being grieved?
I would say yes. And the reason I would say yes is because when your spirit is grieved, how do you express that in terms of articulation, right? Now, I do believe that term, spirit, that grieves my spirit, is overused today. I think it's being used more as something that was picked up from the charismatic church, as opposed to something being, as real as what you're talking about, Kathy. I think we should be careful and not to be cliches about when we use words like that, or when we make statements like that. I guess I don't know, but I do understand what you're saying, and it does.
Okay.
Am I making sense?
Yes, and not only that, Rev, when you're doing that, the enemy within yourself, however you say that, He can't understand your moans and groans. No one else can understand it. Only one can stand it is the Father in heaven.
But see, people used to say the devil don't understand what you're saying when you moan. But if you trace that back historically, you find out the devil that they were talking about was the moaning that was done in the field when somebody was getting ready to run away, and the overseers didn't understand what they were talking about. That's what that came from. Now, if you really want to deal with it from a spiritual perspective, the only devil that would not understand is your mind, if you want to deal with it from that perspective. Because the devil of which they were talking, that they thought they were talking about, those who were hearing it, was not an entity that was created in terms of the Satan that we talk about so often, or we hear talked about. Anybody else?
Yeah, Pastor Richard, would utterances be something that you compare to groaning, or is that something totally different?
No, it's undiscernible or utterances, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Same question or a different question?
No, it doesn't matter. Yeah, different question.
I have a different one if we're finished with that one.
Anyone else about that one before we move to the next question? Okay.
I want to go back to something that you said on yesterday. I asked this question yesterday, but I've had more time to sit with it now, and I'm still thinking about it and trying to understand. You made the comment yesterday that there are times, and you gave an example of this, and you said there are times when you are Elohim to Ron and Ron is Elohim to you. And I asked something about that question yesterday because that resonated with me, because it took me back to John 14 when we were looking at, I am the way, the truth, and the life, and no man comes to the Father except by me. And I know we taught that in that instance, we become that except by me. I have to become, as Jesus was the diagram to those disciples, the living diagram to show them how to come to the Father. Now that is my role to do that. And it made me stop and think about then, you know, we talk about being Elohim and what is my purpose for being Elohim. And as I began to think about that, I never thought about I'm being Elohim for someone that's already seeking truth, because we often think about it's just that person that's not on this journey to enlightenment. So that started me to thinking. So I asked that question yesterday about someone on the journey seeking truth and we being Elohim for each other. But then it made me think about the rest of the conversation on yesterday. When we talked about the person that irks me, who does not even know that they are on the spiritual journey, they don't even know that divinity is in them. When that person causes me to sit with myself and realize that I am you and you are me, in that scenario, does that person also become Elohim to me, even though they don't have an awareness of being Elohim?
Yes. Because from them you're learning something or seeing something about yourself that is spiritual in nature. When I made that statement yesterday, what had been shown is that you could very easily substitute Elohim for mirror, because when I said that I'm Elohim to run and run to me, I was simply saying that I become the spiritual mirror to show him who he is, and he shows me who I am, and that happens on a continuous basis. And I think that discussion came on the heels of something that Evelyn had raised about her response to someone who had irked her in a place of employment, and how she had dealt with it and came to the realization that it was she who she was seeing in the face or in the actions of the one who was irritating her. And at that point, that lady, or whoever it was, was Elohim showing her that it's you. It's not this person you're looking at. It's you who needs to deal with this. Even though the person did not realize that they were Elohim, they were acting in that role. Now, this is the key point to it. Evelyn did not see it as being Elohim because it didn't dawn on her. It just dawned on her that it was her who needed to work on something. But in reality, what she was seeing is that Elohim was showing her, honey, this is something you need to work on so you can really manifest who you are in this earth and be to this person who you should be. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Does that help clear it up?
Yes. I'm still thinking about it, but yes.
Any other questions about this? Because this is, to me, this is one of the most important things that I've been shown. And the reason I say that is because in being shown that, I was also shown that we spend more time doing human/Elohim comparisons than we do being Elohim. While you're mulling, it's not a question right now, while you're mulling over it, I'd like to add something to that, if I may. But first of all, before I do that, are there any questions about it?
Let me ask a reverse question. If, like, say for instance, Evelyn said that every time that person came around her, that it irked her. But what is this, the reverse? If you around a person and you've never done anything to that person, but it's just something that irks them about you, how do we, does that reflect back on to us?
Well, if it's something about you that irks them, then there's a message being sent to them. The question is, are they going to address it? Or are you irking them because they simply don't like you? Or they are, or your example, you can be kind to people and irk them because they like you too nice. Or you can be truly irksome. And if you know you're irking them, the question is, what are you doing that irks them? And if what you are doing is antithetical to what you should be doing, then that's Elohim all over again, showing you that you need to deal with yourself so that you can be more present in the presence of people than you are at that moment. Does that make sense, Linda?
Yes.
Any questions about that?
As you talked about the mirror and our being mirrors for each other, actually, regardless of whether we are aware of who we are or not. If you see through a glass, it's clear. You can see the other side. If you look through a mirror because of the coating on the back, you see you. And so it's almost like that coating is a sort of symbolic of the judgmental things that we have in our mind, the preconceptions that we have about someone or some situation. And the only thing that we see when we have these thoughts in our minds, preconceived thoughts, is us and how it affects us. But if that mirror is clear and we're looking through a glass and we're non-judgmental and we're open to listening to people and just not prejudging, then we can see into what they really are saying, and vice versa, if that resonates.
It does. Anyone else?
Hey, Rep. I like the way she said that because that opened it up more about the mirror. Yeah. Without that darkness behind that mirror, you can see clearly.
Right,
your thoughts and stuff be clearly.
Well,
but
if the darkness is not there, you don't see yourself.
Right. That's what I was getting ready to say.
I have a question. So is the darkness like the image that we portray? Like when you see a person, the first thing you see is what they have on or the outer appearance. So is that darkness like the image that we see first, instead of looking at that person or connecting with that person's energy?
Well,
It's that preconceived notion about that person that you see first. And it could be reflective of clothing, it could be reflective of hair, but you got this somewhere in you, this idea about how something is supposed, quote unquote, supposed to be, supposed to look, etc. And it's hard to see the individual because we can't get past what we see in our, for lack of a better word, mind's eye about that person.
we usually see what we like or don't like. We don't see the person. We see the nice dress or the nice clothes, or we see the jacked up teeth, or we see the head that needs to be done, big stuff like that, instead of seeing the person.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the first things we see. And if we were to teach ourselves to see beyond the outward appearance of what we like or don't like, and just look the person in the eye and see the person, it would make a difference, a huge difference. And I do believe that to do that, we would be seeing more pain than we think we would, regardless of how good something appears to be on the outside. Isn't it something that you can look at a person's face, especially if you know them, and their facial features don't have to change, but you can look in their eyes and you can tell whether they're happy or sad or they're faking it. So what are you actually seeing? Are you seeing something, or are you looking in their eyes and experiencing something? That in itself is the spiritual oneness that we share. You think about it this way. You can look in someone's eyes talking to them, and that's your friend. And you can look into another person's eyes, and you're more intimate with them, and you see a different kind of softness there, a different kind of oneness there. So are you actually seeing something, or are you experiencing that energy, that presence? And it is my belief that if we do that on a continuous basis, make an effort to do that all the time, then we will become more aware of how deep this idea of being one is. But we have been conditioned as humans not to look people in their eyes. We look beyond them. As a matter of fact, we don't even look at ourselves. Look in the mirror every day and don't look in our eyes. Look at your face. Different portions of the face. But actually looking in the eyes is different. There are people who are offended if people look them in their eyes, because that's how we've been conditioned.
Mm-hmm.
But is it not the spiritual thing to do, the loving thing to do? Look me in my eyes and see me. Don't look at my forehead or my clothes. Look me in my eyes and see me. And the me that you see is not only what I am experiencing, but I'm also your experience. I am your emotion as well as you are mine. And I think that in doing that, we would be in a better position talking about bodily. I'm talking about that source of healing to the emotional person, to the psyche of that person, to the injurious experiences that person has encountered. There is the understanding that even if you are making an attempt to bring physical healing to someone's body, you can't do it until you clear your thoughts of everything that is adverse to that or everything that sees it as being doubtful that is possible. That mind has to be clear to that before you're able to make that connection with the energy in that body to change its course. But if we were to do that with our encounters with each other, how much healing could we bring to society without even speaking a word, without even reaching out to touch anyone? Because quite frankly, to have to physically touch someone to bring healing to them is not a spiritual thing at all. It is a human physical contact for the purpose of the one who needs that contact in order to believe that it's possible. No different than the usage of oil for that purpose. Not the touch, it's not the oil. It's the energy exchange that does the job. Let's see if we could be more cognizant of how we look as opposed to how we avoid looking at each other. Because to see my face is not to see me. My face simply tells you what label has been put on me, Jane. But my eyes tell you who I am. Does that make sense to you?
It does. Pastor, too, the person that I was telling you guys about, I tried looking into her eyes, but it's something that's in there. I don't know what it is. I cannot connect with her eyes. And normally that's have been one of my practices, to really look at people in their eyes, because a lot of times we see people and then we don't. But with her, with this particular person, it's like there's a cloudiness. There's something that's going on inside of her, and I have to turn away.
Maybe she doesn't know.
Say one more time.
Maybe she doesn't want you to connect with her, what's going on with her, and maybe it's not time for you to do that. May I say this? When we think about this, there's a reason. I think that we have, and this is what I want to add a bit earlier. There is a reason I think that we have two eyes in the physical sense, and I believe that the two eyes speaks to what happened when we talk about this experience in this thing, this place of nurturing that we call the garden. This place of spiritual growth, that's what the garden is, a place of spiritual growth. And if we ask what place in that space of spiritual growth, that space of spiritual growth was an opportunity for this spiritual entity to encounter something called time. And the encountering of time resulted in something. This idea of the tree of knowledge, we call it the tree of knowledge of good and evil altogether. But let's just stop at this, the tree of knowledge. This space in the midst of nurturing is called a space where knowledge is acquired, or a space where knowledge is realized. What knowledge was acquired or realized in this particular space. The knowledge that was realized in this particular space is that there is duality in life itself. In order for this entity that was created to be the complete image of its creator, it had to encounter what life looks like, and at the same time be shown the tools that are necessary in order to bring about spiritual life, or for spiritual life rather to exist rather in the way that it was intended to exist. And the tools are good and evil, the duality of life, building on something, taking the for lack of a better word, negative aspect of what life looks like and molding it into something that's positive. And in doing so, this results in a spiritual experience that benefits everyone who's involved. Yet, it was not possible for this to happen without this knowledge of the duality of life, and we live with that all the time. We are in the process of merging this duality into a oneness. This is what I'm saying. When we look at the duality, we see things like, we see human versus spirit, or human versus Elohim. If we understand that human is an illusion, and we take that illusion and merge it, and mold it rather into something real and positive, then with the results of that is what Jesus was after the resurrection. Even though he manifested in a human body, his thoughts, his deeds, his recognition was far beyond anything that's material, because of the understanding that it wasn't material. It meaning Jesus realized it was not material. It manifested that way so those things which are material could see it and understand that it could be what it is also. So when we look at this duality, it gives us an opportunity to take the malleable energy and mold it into something real. We look at male and female duality. Yet, where are we now in our understandings of this male-female? What are we seeing? We are seeing that it is so inextricably tied together until it can never be separated. We are separate in our minds only, because when you look at the male, you see a body that calls it male, but you don't see what you don't see with your eyes is the reality that that body is an illusion, because the energy in that body is both male and female. And we have delineated it by calling it estrogen and testosterone. Yet, it is one entity that is inextricably tied together. So if we take that and continue that out and understand that at this tree of knowledge, or this space of knowledge, is for the purpose of showing us these tools, and the words that Jesus spoke are words that are showing us how to take these tools and use them in order to be the spiritual creator that we were created to be. And in doing so, the results are that we become exactly like Elohim is. And when we are exactly like Elohim is, that is when we can look in the eyes of what we call each other and see ourselves. When Ellen talked about she saw it was her, what she saw was that duality merging into oneness. What she experienced was that duality merging into oneness. When Linda said, let's reverse it, what Linda is saying is, let me put myself in their place. And if you can put yourself in their place, what you're actually saying is that you are one with them, because two objects cannot occupy the same space. So the only way you can be in the same space where they are is to be as they are, to be one with them. So this whole concept of knowledge of good and evil is a concept that has the ability, if we will allow it to teach us to take that which is unripened and ripen it so that unripeness does not exist anymore in that particular space. And that's what we are in the process of doing. And being in the process of that, we call it balance and harmony. And ripeness is harmony. Yet it is a continuous process. I do believe that it is extreme. It is possible, but more than possible. The reality of it is this: there will be those, if not also exist, who are able, whose bodies are as Jesus' body became after resurrection, and that means no longer is he in a space of duality. He is unicity with the spiritual, but he manifests himself in a manner that you can see it. So it can say, just as I am, so you can be also. If you follow the teachings that I brought to you from the Father. Am I making sense, or am I confusing you?
I'm confused.
Okay, ask the question.
I know something come in my spirit when she was saying she couldn't look her in the eye. I experienced that today with somebody, but correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe it's that what she's seeing, and the one that was on the phone, was that Evelyn?
Yeah.
Yeah. Could it be that her spirit is actually seeing something that she's afraid of what she's going to see if she keeps looking at her in her eye? Because, you look at somebody and then it would be like the spirit will be revealing something about that person. You really don't want to see what he's about to show you, so you don't really want to look that person in the eye because you don't, it's like, you're trying not to judge that person, but you are actually seeing something that you're not ready to see in that person. Because today that person, when I was talking to me, is like, okay, I'm looking at this person, but what she was saying, and my spirit was saying, what you are saying is not the truth. You lying. And I didn't want to call her a lie, so what I did, I let her talk, but at some point, I looked her in the eye, and at some point, I had to turn away because I kept seeing more lies come up, and then I had enough, and so I asked her a question, and when I asked her the question, she couldn't come forth with the truth, and she tried to prove that what she said was the truth, but when she pulled her phone out, I saw that she wasn't telling the truth. So I did not want to see that lie that she was about to tell, so I turned my head to keep from looking her directly in her eyes.
Well, you see, there are all kinds of reasons why it could have happened, right? And it absolutely could be that. No question. It could very well be that. So I don't know what the reason is, but what I am saying is that all of us have the opportunity to take the substance of rightness and unrightness and make it right. Or righteousness is unrighteousness. That's duality. So what do you do with unrighteousness? And that's not rhetorical.
Try to make it right.
Okay, so if you're trying to make it right, what are you doing? If you're taking unrighteousness and making it righteousness, is that not changing duality into oneness?
Right.
That's what I'm talking about. Maybe somebody hears me, can understand it clearer than I.
Pastor, I have a question.
Uh-huh.
When you were talking about changing, let me get it the way you said it. I probably will duality into unicity, and you were talking about this body that we have when we change it to unicity, well, duality to unicity. You were speaking of the body becoming like Jesus' body was. So, and I've been thinking, because that's not the first time you said that, as a matter of fact. You say that almost every time we are together. And I have really been contemplating what you're saying there. So I understand what you're saying about, and what we've been teaching and learning about the spirit being trapped inside of this body, and that our spirit has the ability to be released from this body. And one of the comments that I've heard you make, or maybe you made it to me, I'm not sure, but I think you've taught this or said this, is that when Enoch walked with God until he walked no more on this side, that he had the ability to come back, and he chose not to. So as we're learning how to change, to come from a point of duality to a point of unicity, thereby transforming these bodies the same way Jesus' physical body was transformed. Are you speaking of being able to exist in two worlds? Are you saying that that's where we're headed as we're learning this? Because we have interludes, we've had interludes where we feel the spirit being released from these bodies. And not always certain what to do with that when that happens, because it has happened before to me personally. But my question is, I'm hearing what you're saying. I want to make certain I'm understanding what you're saying, and if I'm on the right track. When you say Enoch could have returned but chose not to, could you elaborate on this? Do you understand what I'm asking you? Am I hearing what you're saying? Am I saying what you're saying? And if I am, could you elaborate more?
I'm saying, go ahead. Somebody else about to ask about that, respond to that. When I'm saying that Enoch could have returned, I say that for the mere reason that Jesus returned. It is my contention that anyone can return. If they could not, then we would not see the people who have left. What does return mean? It means that the energy that was gathered in that body reconstitutes itself in that form, so it is recognizable by those who experienced it prior to it exiting that body. So yes, I do believe he could, and I believe anyone else can as well. However, I do not believe that most of us, the overwhelming majority of us, are in a state of being that we are willing to embrace that. The other thing is that I believe we are so conditioned to this thing called death from a human perspective until we've lost sight of what death really is. When you understand the duality of life, you will surely die. When you eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, isn't that what it says? So when you understand the duality of death, of life, you will surely die. What are you saying? When you understand that there is something called a sense of separation, a belief in being separated from your Creator, as well as being one with your Creator, when you see the duality of that, you will die. That death is in this body. So in this body, there is this belief, this sense of being separated from the Creator. That's death. As you stated at the onset, being trapped in the body, the spirit, that the body is the grave. That's the death. What we actually call the grave is repositioning the elements that constitute this body so that they can return to the place from which they were taken. And that which occupied it returns to where it came from, which means that it is no longer trapped in that body. But it doesn't mean that that body cannot be reconstituted, because just like that figment of Adam's imagination brought that body into being, so can you reconstitute it. Jesus proved that in no uncertain terms. So we can't get to the bridge of being like Jesus and stop at the point where it says that we can reconstitute our bodies after we exit it and be able to move about and communicate with those who were left here in their bodies, because Jesus did that. Am I making sense, or am I confusing you more?
I hear what you're saying, and it's making sense, but I guess the question that I'm asking is the physical entity called Kathy that is sitting here now, breathing breath, living in this body, the spirit me that's in this body, without being what we call physically dead. Can you reconstitute that body and live? And this may not be making sense to anyone, but this has been on my mind a lot. Can I still, I know what we're talking about. After the resurrection, Jesus had his reconstituted body. What I'm asking is, without physically dying, can the body be reconstituted?
Yeah, I am saying that you could leave this body without dying, yes.
Okay, because I wanted to be clear on that, because I thought the answer was yes.
Yes.
But I wanted to make certain.
And I say that in no uncertain terms, because I've done it. Long before that I became the preacher dude who wants to understand spiritual stuff, I've done
Transcendental meditation.
Yes.
Transcendental meditation.
I've done that before, yes. Yes. I have done it more times than I would like to remember, but yes, I've done that. Even when I was being called a heathen for doing it, I wanted to see did it work, and it did. So I know that's real. And when I became this preacher dude, then I had to seek forgiveness because I was on the brink of hell based on what I've been told for being able to do that. But subsequently, I understand that being in this body is a choice. You can leave your body. No different than if someone says that I'm going to die or transition, and they do it, they made a choice, didn't they? What we say, they died on their own terms. And you've heard me say before. All of my life, my great granddad, my grandmama's daddy, told them at 12 noon he was going to die, and the whole neighborhood came around. Cause most of them didn't believe it. And when the clock struck 12, he said goodbye, and they took his last breath. That's real. And there are people who say, that I made it. I don't care what to say. I know what happened. The point of the matter is this: we have more influence on who we are, how we live, and how we how we merge or how we mold this duality into unicity than we think we do. We have that power, that ability to do this. Earlier, Cassie Neal said, I raised the question, so what do you do with unrighteousness? You make it right. What does that mean? You take something that's unripe and you ripen it. So once it's ripened, it's no longer unripe. So what is it? That's unicity, isn't it? What was learned in that space called the garden? What's the knowledge that was revealed there? The duality of life. So what's the purpose of this revelation of the duality of life? If you understand the duality of life, then you can bring into existence the tree of life, meaning that you take all these unripened elements and you ripen them. And the ripeness of these elements is what we call the tree of life itself, which is pure energy that's in rhythm with the universe in totality. The death, what we call the death and resurrection of Jesus, was simply Jesus being in total rhythm with the universe. And that total rhythm with the universe meant that just as the thought of the universe brought into existence this physical thing called the body, that physicality could be reproduced or reconstituted in the same image it was before it left this earth, or before the occupant left this earth realm. I know what I see, and I'm struggling to make it clear. And I believe wholeheartedly that the space where we are now is a space that's going to be occupied with unicity as opposed to duality. And it is the space filled with unicity that is going to be the influencer that changes everything that humanity needs change for it to be the spiritual entity that it was created to be. It is necessary to bring harmony to this place so that the misery can be mitigated, so that people's suffering can be transformed into joy and peace, so that the people are no longer infested with hate and greed because they are shown a better way. And they can't know that better way unless in their midst there are those who exist in that type of harmony, being one with that which created everything that is, and that is the being one with the rhythm of this universe, and seeing that, rather than seeing somebody with a yacht and trying to emulate them and be all materialistic and being the billionaire person, seeing someone with this essence of the universe itself, this essence of life, and desiring to be at peace with that. Because knowing that you're at peace with that, you can't explain it with your thought, with your words, but you know that there is such a peace and such a sense of a serenity there until it is desired by everyone who is struggling in this earth realm. Am I making sense?
Yes.
Hey, Rhea. Now, I don't know how I might sound to you. You might have to be quiet. When Adam and Eve, they were trying to ripen themselves before time. And I see that and when they were trying to ripen themselves for time, that's when they was covering themselves. And then the Father had told, well, the Spirit was in heaven. They had said, now man that became like us, knowing good and evil, and they will be evil for the rest of their life if we don't do something about it. And they when they trying to ripen themselves, they couldn't. So that's why they were wrapped in skin until to a time that we are talking about this now.
Okay. What happened, Charles, is that they sought, or it sought, to do it its way, to become ripened its way. And we call that religion. From the moment of the duality being embraced in that space, what we started seeing is duality. From that point forward, we saw something called Ish and Isha. We saw something called Cain and Abel. We saw something called Isaac and Jacob. We've seen these dualities throughout ever since that point. So what I'm saying is that religion religion keeps duality in the forefront of existence. Religion teaches us that duality is the only thing that exists. It never teaches us that unicity is the goal. Oneness is the goal. It never teaches us that. It always keeps that in the forefront. That there is always going to be duality, and there always was. Religion teaches us that the tree of knowledge and good and evil is talking about doing something wrong or doing something right. It teaches us that the tree of life is about going to heaven. That's what it teaches us. It teaches us that the tree of life is about us breathing in these bodies. That's what it teaches us. It doesn't teach us what the scripture is saying about those things. So you're on the right track, yes. Anyone else? Please help me. The only way I can get this out of what I is through questions. If you don't know what to ask, just say it. Now, I want you to know something. There are times when I'm at this space and I feel like I'm on an island, and then I feel like I'm in a space where I'm confusing the heck out of everyone. I don't feel that now. I don't feel like I'm on an island. I don't feel like I'm missing anything. The only thing that I'm experiencing now is a struggle in explaining what I'm experiencing.
Yeah, that's what it is.
So help me, somebody. There is no help for the weary. Okay.
You're not leery, sir.
All I'm saying is that do not be surprised when you begin to experience what we have deemed to be out-of-body experiences for longer periods of time. These are not out-of-body experiences as much as they are intra-body experiences, meaning that
He did it. Hold on.
Come back. Come back.
Enter your meeting ID, followed by pound.
So we're kicked off.
Yeah. It's funny, Joe, because every day down here,
every day down here, we get kicked off like the internet
Oh,
or the TV
yeah.
right at 7 o'clock.
Yeah. All the major networks. Boom. Oh.
Hello, are y'all there?
and and you speak to the mind of a Mitch McConnell, and everything changes. And he thinks that he thought of that himself because nobody's in the room with him.
Oh my God, he answered my question today.
And now that influence is there. Is that not what happened when Jesus was talking to the folk on the road to Emmaus? That's all I'm saying. Did that not happen when Saul asked Samuel to ask the witch in order to reconstitute? I'm sorry, witch to the witch rather, and say, please get Samuel to reconstitute his body. I need to talk with him. Is that not? Is it getting clearer?
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
I'm not sure where we got cut off from what you said after that, but when you were talking about the, I had to reconnect the Zoom. When you were talking about the outer body experiences, I just wanted to let everyone know that that is exactly what is happening when we go to sleep at night and we're actually dreaming. And we don't, I'm trying to figure out how to explain this. Our minds, so to speak, are not holding on to our bodies as much. And when Pastor Rich was actually talking about leaving your body, and this is to Kathy as well, your consciousness is leaving your body. You're not actually in, or we're not actually in our body. So in the dream state, it's just that our consciousness is leaving our body, and then during awakened state is coming back to the body. Uh, and we do that as well, and can do that when you're simply meditating. You drift off and you daydreaming and things of that nature as well, and your body's automatically set up. Notice I said your body. Your body that your conscious occupies often automatically kind of goes on an autopilot. There have been times where we have can be doing something and get in the zone, and things are just continuing to go, and we're totally gone somewhere else, in a sense. Another thing that happens that we don't, or at least most people don't really consider, is when you wake up in the morning, or the way that we react to certain situations and things like that. We're also influenced by the dreams that we just had the night before. All of a sudden, it may be a situation that you encounter. All of a sudden, like, I don't know why I did that today. Any other day, I wouldn't have done this. And you just do it effortlessly without thought. It's just that particular day you wanted to handle that situation a little bit different. You are influenced through your dreams also. I'm finished.
And may I add an example to that as well, Sheldon?
Sure.
I think for me personally, as I'm thinking and listening to you, when I get out of my own head, and what I mean by that, when I'm teaching a lesson and I'm not worried about, if I just go with the flow and not worry about, am I saying it right, am I saying this the right way, and just connect. I've heard people say it this way, and I'm just going to use the term that they said, teaching from the other side. Okay, well, what does that look like, teaching from the other side? I see that as totally releasing myself and immersing myself into letting the words come off the page and transporting me to the place of unicity, to the point where I'm no longer teaching what the memorized word is on that page. I am one with the word, and that word is me, and I am that word. And it comes from a place of oneness, to where I'm seeing it entirely in a new way. I'm feeling it, I'm experiencing it as I'm teaching it. And I do believe that we have that ability to do that in a conscious state, but and I'm going to say it in a weird way, I'm consciously awake, but unconsciously aware that I have left this realm, but I'm so in a place of unicity until I'm no longer affected or influenced by anything around me at that point, other than the place where I am in total unicity, teaching at that point. And I probably didn't say that very clearly, so if you have any questions, please feel free to ask, or if someone else can help me, or if you've experienced it, maybe you can help me say it clear.
Yes, all of us have done that before, and what it is when we're doing something that is pure in intent. And when the reason why I say pure in intent, we set aside our individualness aspects of ourselves. And in setting that aside, we automatically open ourselves up to a greater wisdom and knowledge. And we're talking about the knowledge of the Creator, the knowledge of all that exists. And then that becomes from the thing that we're actually talking from. And we all have done this when there's been something we've been very passionate about. And then you start thinking about it in hindsight, like, I don't know where those words came from. And then you're just speechless. And then you think, like, I couldn't even have tried to do that if that was actually my goal. But it's because of that, like I said, that pure intent, and you set your ego aside. And when I say set your ego aside, it doesn't mean just having a selfish intent when we talk about the ego. Ego is also the thing that can be very, very critical of oneself in terms of, okay, I don't know the words to say. I can't necessarily do this. And it's to kind of like speak from a lower part. And that in itself can be crippling as well, and cut off that information flow, or that connection to this greater knowledge that we're actually talking about. Now I'm going to tag you, because I feel like I need to say, does everyone understand that? Are there any questions? Can someone help me?
I, the funny thing about that is we recognize that in each other. When there is a flow, as Catherine was describing, and you were commenting on, we recognize when that happens. the expectation is to, quote unquote, come back from the other side, to come back to this place. But what happens if we don't? Are we afraid that we're going to die?
You know what? When it first happened to me with the out of body experience, I heard myself saying, "Where are you taking me, to heaven?" I actually thought that I was dying, and he was taking me to heaven. And I asked the question, but I never heard an answer, and so I just kept like floating in the air.
So he said, "No, I'm leaving you in gas."
Say though that we choose.
Hey, what?
Oh boy, I do understand what you're saying.
Yeah,
Pastor Richard.
Go ahead.
Didn't you just say that we choose when we want to die or whatever?
Yeah, we can. Yes. Yes.
So if we're having an out of body experience, we choose to come back to our body, right?
Yes. I do believe that.
Okay.
I remember in one of the classes I taught that. Go ahead. Go ahead. Hello.
I was done.
Wait. Oh, okay. I thought, Barbara, were you about to say something?
No, that wasn't me.
Oh, okay. Anyway, I remember a class I taught, and in that class I was shocked because one of the things I taught, and this like many years ago, one of the things I taught was people know when they're going through transition, even though sometimes they may not pay any attention. And there are people who I've sat with, and when people release them, they go ahead and transition. And one of the things there were two things in that class that I taught that shocked me. One was that there were so many people in that class, and there's probably about 50 people plus in there. There were so many people in that class who not only believe that, but have experienced it at some point in their lives. The most shocking thing about being in that class is that the leading pastor in the whole area did not believe it and challenged me on it in front of the whole class. I didn't back down from it, but it never left me that the challenge came from someone who should have known better. So what I'm saying is this. When we begin to have these experiences, it is incumbent upon us that we do not allow anyone to talk us out of it. What am I saying? You cannot allow a thief and a robber to come into the pen of the sheep and steal what you have, to take from you what you know the truth to be. If you allow that to happen, it's because you do not deem yourself as being worthy of that truth. And if you do not deem yourself as being worthy of that truth, you will suffer as a result of it. Because the truth that you embrace is not to make you popular. It's not even for you. The truth that you embrace is to feed someone else. If you deem yourself unworthy of that truth by virtue of allowing a thief to take it from you or a robber to take it from you, if you do that, then you have abdicated your responsibility to humanity to be a mirror for them, to be a source of spiritual sustenance for them. Does that make sense to you? Are you hearing me clearly?
Yeah, I hear you, and I remember that because I think I was in that class during that time. And then, you know, when when that death happened with, you know, Reverend Posey,
Mm-hmm.
and I had that out-of-body experiencing his death, seeing it happen from the beginning, and then experiencing some of the things that happened to him in my sleep. And I'm laying there struggling in my sleep, trying to wake up, didn't want to see what I was seeing. And then when I got in front of this certain pastor, and he said he was using me to encourage the other ministers to let them know they didn't have anything to be afraid of. And when I'm saying, you know, what I saw, it was like I didn't have any faith. What I was saying wasn't true. And it hurt me, and I cried. And then when he said, after everybody left, he said, Sister Kathy, I need to talk to you for a minute. And then when I started talking to him, I told him that what I saw was nothing that was made up. It was what, and then when I began to tell him what all I saw, and before it even hit the paper and anything, and then he like, well, why didn't you come to me and talk to me? And my words were, you wouldn't have understood me. Just like you didn't understand me then, you still would have said I didn't have faith. And I told him I got faith, but my faith didn't have nothing to do with what I saw, because this was something that had started happening to me right after I came in ministry, and I didn't even really understand a lot of it myself. But I told him God had placed me with some people that knew exactly what I was going through at the time that I saw that I was able to talk to, because I knew in the Baptist church they're going to tell me I was going crazy, and I knew that, and I experienced that, and it hurt. But then when I realized that what God had given me, that gift that he had given me to see these things, then, you know, it didn't bother me after that. But yes, it hurt, you know, and it's because it's embarrassment in front of other people, because they think, oh, they crazy, you know, they ain't seen all this stuff. And I was actually seeing it and experiencing it.
And what I'm saying is that that's going to happen in terms of denial, of people trying to take it away from you. Now, there are times when you see these things, you are not even supposed to say anything about it anyway. And there are times you are. And you will know the difference. All I'm saying is this. We are in a period of time right now, and we have brought this time into being. This space that we are in, we have created this space. And the space that we have created is an opportunity to be the entities that we were created to be the influences of this earth realm, to live in this world but not be of it, to be occupants of this body, but more, but also to realize that this is not our only home. This is simply an opportunity for people to be able to see an earthen vessel that has the wisdom and the understanding to bring humanity to a place where it desires not just to see something that mirrors what it's supposed to be, but to become what it was created to be. That hunger, that deep desire for more is being there are attempts being made to satisfy it with popularity and with things. That deep desire for more has nothing to do with this material world. It has everything to do with spiritual desire. There is a deep hunger in all of humanity for something called more. And what has taken place is between the government and church, because of religion, this has been interpreted as richness, as wealth. The healthy wealth ministry, keep your body healthy, God, and keep your pocket wealthy. That kind of crazy stuff. This is not what this is about. This is about spiritual health, and it has nothing to do with the material world. We are the rulers of this world, and if I am the ruler of the material world, then I have no business submitting to it. I have no business looking to it to make me popular, looking to it to make me feel worthy of being a human, to make me feel worthy of being somebody. If I have to have a certain car, a certain house, a certain amount of money before I can believe that I am worthy of life itself, then this material world becomes my God, because that's where I am looking to get my life. However, when I realize that this material world is simply a place that's what with the tools necessary for me to bring humanity to a place of balance and acceptance as to who it is, understanding that it is something far greater than what a human could ever be, and that this idea of human is a setback. And the setback was for the mere purpose of allowing us to be able to see the forest as opposed to seeing the trees. Step back far enough. What do you mean? Step back into that human nature, and you will begin to see that that's not enough for you. That's not satisfying. That's not pleasing. That's not bringing balance to humanity. That's not bringing equality. It's not seeing men on the same basis as you see yourself. Step back far enough to see that. And being in this body gives us the opportunity to see that. Now that we see it, the question becomes, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? And the thing that we must understand that we are to do about it is for us to embrace the reality of what we were created to be, and be to humanity the mirror that's necessary so that it can see it's greater than human. Any questions about that?
I got not about what's thought about that, but it's more like a comment when you talking about the out of body experience. This may be it, but I don't know. But I had a dream that I was talking to this young lady. I was where she was, and I was asking. Somebody was telling me something about suicide or something, and so I was asking her. And the dream was what was wrong with her, and she was trying to tell me, but I couldn't hear what she was saying. So when I woke up, I still remember that dream, and it bothered me. So I reached out to her, and I was asking her, was she okay? First she said, yeah, she was okay. Then I told her I had a dream about it, and then she asked me what was the dream about, and I told her that it was something that was on her mind that was worrying her. And then she said, wow. She said, yeah, that's true. So that is what you consider, is that what you're talking about? Hello?
Pastor Richard, if you're speaking, you're on mute.
I said I'm talking about that, yes, but I'm talking about something much broader than that.
Okay.
I'm talking about a constant state of being in that place. I'm not talking interludes that we have been mentioning. I'm talking about a continuous life there. Up to this point, I don't know about you, but I have always felt that when I'm in that place after I finish teaching or after I've seen what I've been shown, it's time for me to come back to quote-unquote reality, or come back to this body, come back to this life. That's what I've always experienced. I am saying the day for that is gone. I'm no longer seeking to remain in this place of this material world. I'm no longer concerned about whether I'm going to be able to function in this material world if I don't quote unquote settle down and come back from the other place from which I've been teaching. I've said to you time and time again that there are periods in my life when I'm teaching. I'm teaching from the scrolls, meaning that I'm seeing what I am saying. I'm not reading it, I'm seeing it. And today is one of those days, talking about and understanding the duality of what took place in that space called the garden. This is something that I am seeing, and I am seeing it like I've never seen it before. And I'm saying, as I said to you yesterday, if you're uncomfortable dealing with those things which are spiritual, you're in the wrong place. If you don't want to see beyond where you are, you're in the wrong place, because what we are being shown are principles that are going to transform this entire universe. And when I talk about the transformation of the universe, I'm not talking about the transformation of those things that are intact as much as I'm talking about the transformation of us so that the universe can be whole again. Because until there are those in this realm who are in rhythm with the universe on a continuous basis, the universe is not whole. And the wholeness of the universe has to take place in order for humanity to ever have a desire or in making any attempt to become whole again. Does that make sense to you? Not just you, Angela, but to any of you. Any comments? Any comments about that? Any questions?
I have one question, Ralph. The question is, when you're dreaming, or you're in a state of flux of dreaming, when he's present is there with you, I mean, you don't see it, but you know it.
Okay, let me talk about that a minute. Let me give me a minute. Dreaming. Oh. First of all, the English word for dream comes from a word that means to deceive. And we have been taught that dreams are not real. We've been deceived by those who have taught us the erroneous beliefs about dreams. When you look at the Aramaic and the Hebrew word for dream, it means to reveal something. A dream is about a revelation. However, if you deal with the vision that you have when you are in a state of sleep or your body is in a state of unconsciousness or unawareness of its existence, if you're in that state and your whole idea about a dream is based upon the Western understanding of dreaming, then you are subconsciously believing that you are being deceived by what you are seeing. However, if you understand that the true nature of what we call a dream is about revealing something, the question becomes, from whom is this being shown to me? It is being shown by the universe itself, and we are having a revelation that is designed to have a positive, powerful impact on the lives of humanity as well as our life itself, and we have to take that opportunity to embrace it for that purpose and that purpose only. Simply because we don't understand it does not mean that it's not real. The reason I ask you what does it mean to you is because it is your energy that the revelation came to, and the first thing that comes from your mouth began to shape that energy in terms of showing you from the depths of your soul or your being what it meant to you. And that in itself began to determine the trajectory of what you saw, which will guide your life. And as Sheldon said earlier, you will deal with things differently tomorrow than you did the day before, not because you thought about it as much as it was revealed to you and you did not understand, but you're doing it differently now. And you never make that connection. The other thing is this. It is a scientific fact that when you go to sleep at night, the overwhelming majority, to the extent of 80 to 90% of all the energy in your body goes to your brain. And it does something there. It begins to declutter. All of the fragments that's there in your mind, it begins to declutter your mind, and it begins to cleanse it and make way for the wholeness of life itself. But what happens is we wake up the next day and we begin to clutter it again because our single focus is on our well-being, is on what we have, what we want, is on making somebody happy at work, is on doing all the things that are contrary to what we are supposed to be about doing, as opposed to being awakened with a clear mind, a fresh start, with an opportunity to be a benefit to humanity and to open ourselves to be guided by the forces of the universe itself. Rather than that, we sit and we think about what we're going to do, regardless of what we feel like we should do. We talk ourselves out of it, and we do negative things like, I have a meeting today, and they're probably going to say no, but, as opposed to saying, in this meeting, this is what's going to happen. We have every opportunity given to us to make a difference by virtue of truly embracing the nature of our being. And all because of what happened at that place when the knowledge was embraced about the duality of life, saying this is not negative, this is opportunity. That's all. This is opportunity. For what? To bring about the existence of the tree of life in the midst of this earth consciousness. That's where we are. Does that make sense to you? Please help me. Comment, questions.
Yes, sir. Yes. Yes, sir.
Any questions, any comments?
I guess I just wanted to add some of the other things that Pastor was saying, that dreaming is a great gift, and it allows us to explore, have experiences, as he was saying, on the other side, outer body experiences. Time does not, it no longer exists. So earlier today, when Kathy was speaking about teaching, and Pastor was speaking about teaching as well, and having a source that goes beyond themselves, that is well the individual self that they are. That is what dreaming is. Dreaming is more so the ability for us to experience and be one out of the body with all that exists. When I mentioned time doesn't exist, just for like an example, I may have used this example before. So hypothetically, say that there was someone in your past who has transitioned, and you are now would love to apologize to that person genuinely if you could today. You can do simple things like make that in your intention as you fall to sleep, and that particular thing is done. With their things, and of course you have to believe this, but all of us have access to this. There are things you want to work on, things, and we're talking about, of course, things from a very spiritual nature. You go to sleep with that intention. While you sleep, this thing is still happening. You can also, as Pastor Richard was talking about, in terms of lessons from dreams and things like that, you can make it a habit as soon as you wake up of trying to recall your dreams. Um, the more and more you do that, the more and more you will be able to recall your dreams, in an easier fashion than before.
Sheldon, what happened during my counseling, when I do counseling with people, I've counseled people who have been raped, people who are dead. I've counseled people who've had abortions. I've counseled people who have killed folks, and they are not able to live with that. And what I've done is process them, at least that's what I call it anyway, processing them and taking them to the place where it occurred or the time period, and helping them to see that person or those people, and then speaking with them about forgiveness. And what I've found is that when I'm dealing with somebody, for example, who has been raped or molested, and I say, well, you need to forgive them, and they say, I have, but when I take them to that time period and they begin to relive it and feel it all over again, when they have that experience all over again, then what happens is they find it very difficult for them to utter the words, I forgive you. Why? Because what they have done, they have religiously forgiven them with their mind, with lip service, but from the depths of their soul, they have not. They have not released it. But when we get to that place of release and we go back, they don't experience it anymore. The pain is not there. The discomfort is not there anymore. The anger is not there. The hatred is not there. There is a difference. And this is one of the reasons I believe so strongly that we can live in this place constantly. Because if we can visit a place, we can stay in that place. And a visitation doesn't mean it can't be a habitation. And I seek a habitation as opposed to a visitation. And I'm saying to you that is the ultimate goal for us to have a habitation. And the universe is saying that you say that you want earth consciousness to be purified, to be changed, to be altered, to be clear, to be complete. You want it to be clear. You want a mirror on every corner for everyone to see themselves in it. If that is to be, then you must be what you are supposed to be. Stop fighting to remain human and be an inhabitant of the spiritual essence that you are. Live there in that space without desiring to be human again, because a human cannot be spiritual, but a spirit can be both. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
Is that part of at least of what you were saying, Sheldon?
Yes, all of that is what I'm saying. Yes.
That's the power in who we are and what we teach. And I have abandoned my concerns recently. As a matter of fact, in the last probably 24 hours or less of trying to figure out what we're going to do when the pandemic is done and we no longer are in the space where we are on Friday, Saturday, and Mondays. I'm Saturday, Sunday, Monday. It doesn't matter anymore. Why? Because by the time this is done, we are going to be in the space where we're going to live in the same space 7 days a week, 24/7, and it's not going to matter. The way that we teach, we talk about how we teach as one. Right now, none of us, not even me, knew what we were going to talk about tonight, but we have questions and answers. Where did they come from? If I were to stop right now and say to one of you, I need you to pick this up, and I need you to go ahead and discuss, continue down this journey that we're on, you can do that, not because you know what words you're going to say, but because you know who you are. Because you know who you are. Because you know how you were fearfully and wonderfully made. Because you know whose image you're in. You don't need the words on a piece of paper. You don't need the outline line before you. You know who you are, and you will pick up and do it because you trust it. And that's how we have to wake up every day in the morning, every day of the week. We trust who we are. We lay down with that at night. We trust who we are. And as a result of that, everything changes. Not because some God who's separated from us changed it. Not because somebody who created us changed it. Not because a boom changed it. Not because the universe changed. No. The universe gives us the direction. The universe gives us direction, no different than the direction that comes in a toy box. You get the directions, but the directions do not put the toy together. You do it. The universe gives us the directions. We have the directions. Be who you were created to be. Embrace it wholeheartedly. That's what the directions are. And when we do that, the directions as to how to influence will also be given. And we probably will not realize the directions that are being given until we see the manifestation of them. We are in a place in time and in the spiritual where there has never been an occupant. Never. This is the time that all holy men have longed to see. We are embodying the essence of all of them who cried for this moment, who sought this very moment to change the course of humanity and balancing the universe at the same time. Any questions or comments?
Pastor?
Yes?
As you're talking, everything is resonating with me, and I had a thought. The evolution inside of me as the understanding of who I am as I am. What I'm hearing now and what I'm feeling now from inside of me is that I am the influencer of all life. And that now is just another aspect or another thing for me to focus on, not focusing on how to influence, but not forgetting, because I think a lot of times, especially in the times in which we live, when you read the headlines and you see the golden Trump and you see all of these crazy things happening, we get caught up in that. And, oh, he says he's going to do this and this is going to happen next. I am the influencer of all life.
You know why?
And if I just hold on to I am the influencer of all life, I won't be moved by what I hear and see, because I know it's under my influence. And I am the one to change it, if I'm making any sense. So another, and I'm going to say like peeling the onion, another layer of the onion has been peeled off with I am, to show me who I am, if that's making any sense.
Yes. You are the influencer of all life because you are all life.
Right.
How can you possibly be brought into existence by the image of life itself and not be life itself? The Creator did not say that we are not life, neither did the Creator say that we don't have influence in the other realm or in that realm from which we were created. The Creator simply said, dominate the earth realm, dominate earth consciousness. Why? Because the Creator knew that there was going to be a type of consciousness that was different than the consciousness that the Creator possessed at that moment. But that type of consciousness that needed to be dominated was going to bring that consciousness into lockstep with the consciousness of the one who created everything that is, which means that the one who brought it into lockstep is a creator itself, because it is also life. But if you are not life, you can't create. You have no energy to create with. Does that make sense?
It does. And when you and Kathy were talking, I see us as being the I am, as if becoming and doing what Elohim and the I am does. It's like going to work. It's something that I just do without even thinking about it when I get there. So I am to have that same attitude as being I am. Just know that I know that I am. That I am the I am. Is that what you're saying too?
I am doesn't have the attitude. I am is the attitude.
Okay. But
I was going to say, here's the thought. Here's the thought. We've used the word becoming over time, but that word is passe. Because we know that we are, and so we can't say we're becoming Elohim. We are.
Right.
Everything is present tense in the spiritual. It is what it is right now.
Right now, this moment, yes. And please, in the future, during the course of our teaching, correct me, correct anyone, correct all of us, if we use that becoming. If we say that we are the Elohim that I am, or I must be Elohim in that circumstance. No. We need to correct those things, that way of thinking, that way of speaking. We must speak it in the affirmative as we teach it, because it has to become real to those who are struggling with it, and it becomes real to those who are struggling with it when they see that it's impossible to escape being it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Any other questions or comments? This life, this day, this evening, this afternoon is something that I did not conceive of. The direction that we have taken tonight has been totally guided by the energy of the universe. This concept of duality, how many times have we talked about this thing of duality? I've not seen it this way before. It's like we are revisiting things, and the Creator has given us outlines. Like, speaking of duality was a portion of an outline, and now it's opening it up, and I'm appreciative of that. And I'm saying that all of us who are facilitators, whether it be on the phone or in other places, it doesn't matter. Don't concern yourself with how things are going to come out or what you're going to say. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, whatever day that you are the one or you are speaking, don't concern yourself with what's going to be said. Just say it. And I promise you that the rest will come from the universe. Why? Because you are the universe. And you can't separate yourself from what you are. What happens is we overthink it and lock ourselves out of the flow. And some of you have taken an exam and you got brain freeze when it's time for the exam. You know the answer, but it won't come. That's the same principle that's involved when we start feeling like we got to know what we're going to say. We got to think about it. We got to process it. No, we don't. We just experience it and say it. Now, when we receive it, processing takes place, yes. When it resonates, when it's in rhythm, the soul processes it. And when the soul processes it, you don't necessarily hear audibly or are able to verbalize the finished product, but you live it because it becomes your experience. The things I share with you this evening are no different than has been shared with humanity through the mouth of holy men from the beginning of time. From the moment that first entity called human entered this realm, humanity has been told you are more than human. And from that point forward, there have always been those raised up to say the same thing. You are more than human. But the louder voices have said resoundingly, you are nothing but a human and will never be more until you die. But holy men have always said, you are light. You are enlightenment. You are more than what you could ever dream you are. And here we are in a period of time where we are beginning to embrace it and see it more clearly like it's never been seen before. The Creator reached here and there and brought together a group of people who were willing to abandon their embrace of being powerful or desire to be strong intellectually, abandoning all of that for the desire to be spiritual by understanding that we are spiritual illiterates. It doesn't matter how well you read or what you can memorize. We were spiritually illiterate until we were open to understand, to learn about the spirituality of our essence. Now, we are no longer illiterate spiritually. So let's stop acting as though we are. There are no literacy tests, spiritual literacy tests to be offered. There are always spiritual opportunities to be literate. Let's hold on to that. Are there any questions or comments? I'm trying to let this thing go. But there's something about it that just won't turn me loose.
So, Red, that's why.
Go.
Right now, I'm talking to Indians, and I don't know why. And not only that, when I come out, I'm talking. And when I'm talking, tell me, hear me. Because I'm talking to that person just like I'm talking to you, like I see you. But I understand. I doesn't see the person, but how I know he's an Indian? That's my thing.
Don't worry about it. All I'm saying is this. The only expectation you should have is to see more clearly who you are.
Okay.
That's it.
All right.
I'm done. Questions, comments? I know there probably were other questions tonight. Hold on to next week. And I can't promise you we're going to get to them then, but I will promise you this. Whatever we are shown, it will come, whether it be James Richard, whether it be Sheldon, whether it be Kathy, Ron, Audrey, Barbara. It doesn't matter. Kathy with C, it doesn't matter. Whoever. This is one thing I do know. The Creator does not care who the voice of the message is, as long as it's a willing.
As long as it's
Your willing subject, the message will come.
Repeat that, Saint.
The Creator does not care whose voice it is, as long as it's a willing voice to bring the message.
Oh, okay.
We got to get away from the thing that the preacher does it, the pastor, the teacher, the minister does it. No. Desire does it. So be well.
Be well.
Enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Great lesson, Pastor. Thank you. And everyone
Thank you,
for your
Pastor.
input.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Pastor. Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Everybody.
Bye.